You go. Okay, I'm going to call this meeting to order for the Mojave County Board of Adjustments and for District 5. I appreciate everyone coming here. With the COVID restrictions, we've had to struggle a little bit in finding a location, so I appreciate everybody driving. We're going to go ahead and start with a Pledge of Allegiance. If you'll stand and join me.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do a roll call. It's Michael Bell. Yes. Joe Morabito. Here. Reed McNally. Here. Okay, and then just if anybody hasn't signed in yet, if you can please see Lisa in the back to do a sign-in, that would be appreciated. At this time, we are going to do an election of chair. Gentlemen, if you just bend your microphones down and turn them on, I'll let you go ahead and.
I would nominate Reed McNally to be the chairman.
I'll second it.
I was going to vote for Joe, but
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so our new chair. We will go ahead and we're going to go into executive session for just a moment so that the board can meet with their legal counsel at this time. Once that is done, we'll return to the meeting. Thank you.
At this time, we'll re-adjourn the meeting, and we'll have the staff give their report.
Item number 1 is a request for a variance to Section 35B, Setbacks and Area Requirements of the Mojave County Zoning Ordinance per Section 41, to allow for an approximately 5-foot rear yard setback for an airplane hangar on Assessor's Parcel Number 227-07045 in the Fort Mojave vicinity. The applicant is requesting the variance to allow for his airplane hangar to be placed in the rear of the property, encroaching in the setback, which is currently set at 15 feet. So he's requesting the variance to have that changed to 5 feet. Here we have some pictures of the property. This is from the roadway, looking west from the east property line, north from the south property line, looking south from the north property line, and looking east from the right-of-way. There are building permits have been issued in the past for accessory structures that do encroach into the required setbacks. So I did find photos of some of these in the area. Section 41C, under variance definitions of the Mojave County Zoning Ordinance, identifies that a variance shall not be granted because of the presence of non-conforming uses in the zoning district or adjoining zoning district. The department could not identify special circumstances or conditions applying to this property that do not prevail on other properties in the same zone. The department could not confirm that the strict application of the regulations would result in an unnecessary hardship, and that the granting of the application is necessary for the preservation and enjoyment of substantial existing property rights. The granting of the application will not materially affect the health or safety of persons residing or working in the neighborhood, and will not be materially detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to property or improvements in the neighborhood. And detriment or injury to the neighborhood will not result from the granting of a variance as applied for. Because the department believes that the requested variance does not comply with Section 41F of the Mojave County Zoning Ordinance, the department recommends denial of this request.
Thank you. At this time, we'd like to call up Roger Peters, who's the property owner.
Have somebody have a gentleman hold these for me, and where would you like me to?
Yeah, that's good there, and if we need to see him, we've been presented with those pictures, we can have him come forward.
Mr. Chair, is it all right if we go take pictures of him for the record? Is that okay?
Yes. Good morning, Mr. Peters. Go ahead.
My name's Roger Peters, 4949 North Campbell Road, Las Vegas, Nevada. I have a hangar there, and I've been involved in aircraft for 45 years. First of all, the hangar here wanting to build at Sun Valley Air Park is my primary building, not an accessory building. It's going to hold many items such as equipment and vehicles. I need 1,000 square feet that is going to be hopefully variance to me for a pool, perhaps for the family, maximizing my view. And I just want to use the 4,000 feet, which I have 4,000 feet to build on because of the septic tank, the easements, 20 feet of the front of the taxiway, 20 foot for the shared drive. I would like to maximize my footprint and have somewhat of a good view. Granting this, I'm trying to maximize my footprint with this small square footage. Without the variance, I would have to do without the pool and the front porch and have not a very good view out my east porch if I were to move the hangar closer to the home. I just believe that the most reasonable and right thing to do is to grant my approval for this variance for me and the community. And here I show you the 5 foot, this is the 5 foot setback plot plan. The 44 by 45 hangar. Okay, there's the 5 foot. And that is a very small hangar. We can build in the air park to 2,500 feet. I would like to put a 50 by 50 foot hangar there and be under the requirement for the air park, and also not to, that's probably it though. And here is the 15 foot easement with only up 8 feet between the hangar and the home. I've been looking forward to the air park to retire here. It's going to be the end of my story, meaning my transition to the next plane will be at this location. Family is going to be happy with everything there, especially Oatman. Thank you for your consideration, and I hope you see my idea and go with it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Jeff.
At this time, we'd like to call up, I believe it's Alan. It's Allyn. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name.
Hi, my name's Alan Ock, and I live at 5288 South Taxiway, Fort Mojave. I am in the home adjacent to Roger's parcel where he wishes to build. And I'd like to show his pictures to you again. This. The top picture shows my home on the left. Okay. My home is on the left at the top of the building area. Directly to the right, there's a hangar that's 5 feet from the property line. Directly below my home, there's a hangar that's, I think it's 6 or 7 feet from the property line. And the catty corner from me, there's a hangar that's 5 feet from the property line. All of these hangars are built that close to property lines so as not to waste what is basically 1,000 square feet of land that is useless at that back edge if you have your hangar set to the back. One of the things that the Homeowners Association put together in the beginning was that hangars could be allowed at the back of the lot. Otherwise, you have a bunch of flat buildings lining your street. We prefer it to be at the back for aesthetic purposes. Now, if you say you were unable to find any unnecessary hardship, you might want to look at that back setback where you have 15 feet on the other side of the building that is totally useless. It's not part of your yard. It's going to be parking trailers and leaving junk. So I would say there is an unnecessary hardship. I have another piece of property on Antelope that I probably won't be able to build on because there's not enough room when you have a 100 by 150 foot lot with all these setbacks. You have no room left to build. If I were to build my house today, I would not be able to build it to the size and area that it is currently. I would have to shave off 1,000 feet of my yard. It just seems inappropriate to change the rules because now the property that I own that has not been built on has been reduced in value.
Okay. All right, thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
This time, we'd like to call up Jeff Patton.
Sorry, because of this time requirement, I got to go like crazy. My name's Jeff Patton. I live at 5296 Taxiway. It's the second house south of the subject property. As a homeowner, a member of the Sun Valley Homeowners Association, I'm 100% in favor of you granting this request. As our secretary and vice president left, a letter points out in 1986, the county, you guys, approved this subdivision. It just has not been built out yet. It's not raw land. The 5-foot rear setback should be grandfathered into every lot in this approved subdivision. It's not right or fair to change the rules mid-game. These lots are all at different heights. Some are on a dune 10 feet high, some are in a drainage 4 foot low. So not all plans use the 5 foot, but most need to. This lot, for an example, is a standard 150 by 100 feet wide. That's 15,000 square feet, so we're going to do a little math. 20 foot setback in the front, you lose 2,000 square foot. 5 foot on either side, you lose 1,500 square foot. 5 foot in the rear, 500 square foot. This property has an easement, 15 foot along the side between the two houses, so they can have a airplane go between them. Another 2,250 foot lost. Now you want to take another 1,000. That leaves you 7,750 square feet to try to build everything. He's got a modest house, 1,775 square foot, 484 square foot garage. He wants to put a 2,500 square foot hangar. Add that up, comes to 4,759 square feet. He'd still like to have a little pool, 600 square feet. He has to have a septic system, 1,000 square feet. Now he's used up 6,359 square foot of 750 he's got left. Ridiculous. Who does this new 10-foot benefit? Junkyards, cars, weeds, trailers? I don't know who. 5 foot setback allows him on this lot. And with 5, it allows him to have 15 feet between the house and the hangar instead of 5. He showed you that in a picture. Instead of looking at a wall, he might see a little bit of the country. Your staff notes say that there's other things he can do. I'd like to know, like, what? How do you build a house that meets our requirements on this piece of land? Final page. The only reason we're here in this subdivision is so we can live with our aircraft and the support systems for them. A hangar is a support system. If we couldn't have these hangars, we wouldn't live in this subdivision. Nobody here would live there. It'd be still raw land. These are primary buildings for us. To sum this up, every lot here in the subdivision should be grandfathered in under the old rules that was approved. This subdivision was approved and created under this by the county with the blessings to build as the way we're trying to do. It's been changed. No one was given a time limit we had to build by. We didn't know that you're going to change the rules. Do the right thing here. He has lost months already because of this. You're literally taking money away from people's lots. The lots that are undeveloped, you're taking money away from them by doing this. So I'm just asking, we're probably the only air park in the whole county anyway. This only affects us. It's a simple deal to do, just asking you to do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we'd like to call up Stan Gatewood, please.
Good morning, I'm Stan Gatewood. I live at 5193 South Antelope Drive in New York Park. Lived there 14 years. I'd like to talk, I am the president of the Homeowners Association. I'm very familiar with all the lots and all the configurations. Mr. Peters' lot is one of about 70 lots that are of the same configuration. And of those 70, about half of them have homes and hangars already built. Out of those, there are 9 that were built with a 5-foot setback. There were another 9 that were built with 6 to 10-foot setback. There were none built with more than 10-foot setbacks. The lots where houses were built with over 10-foot setback, for example, my property, I chose to have a 20-foot setback because I personally wanted a bigger backyard. I was not told that I had to do that. Similar with some of the others, they wanted a pool there or just more space in their backyard. But I'm not aware of anybody that's been forced to comply with a 15-foot setback. So we have all these houses and hangars already in the air park with a 5-foot setback. Everybody's in favor of it. Nobody's complaining. It's not harming the neighborhood. And as we tried to point out, it is kind of necessary because the size of the lots are kind of limiting in trying to get everything on there that we want. So it's been done since 1988 up to the present with 5-foot setbacks. So I don't see why we should penalize Mr. Peters or any future. We do have additional people planning property in the air park, and I know they're counting on 5-foot setback, just like their neighbors have. So I don't see the reason to impose this requirement. Thank you.
At this time, we'd like to call up, I believe it's Marilyn. I'm sorry, I can't make out your last name.
I'm Marilyn Harbuck at 5272 Taxiway. We built a hangar. I'm in the house in the hangar between 91 and 92. There was absolutely no objection of anybody having to do more than 5 feet at the time. This gave us more space, and the friend and ours and us, we combined to give 20 feet for each one so the aircraft can go up, and that we could give the space for the home that we do have. I think it would be neat, as the others have said, have everybody be adjoining the same line and not be checkerboard from the backyards to someone else. And I don't feel that Mr. Peters should be penalized if the rest of us were able to have that 5 feet. And I guess that's all I was going to say. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Lori, how do we need to proceed after this?
If you have any questions of staff or any of the people who have commented, you can ask for those or ask those questions now. Otherwise, go ahead and close the public hearing and have your discussion on how you'd like to proceed.
Okay. Mr. Bell, do you have any questions for staff or?
I don't.
Morbido?
The packet that we received has 18. I guess we would call them non-conforming hangars already. So my question is, it starts as early as 1988 and goes as late as 2007. Was there any variances given in all of those?
Chairman, members of the board, no, I'm not aware of any variances in this neighborhood that have been granted.
So when the applicant applied now, I don't understand possibly the rule. If it's been done a certain way, would it make more sense for the county to grant another one, or to have it, the way it's turned down, it just seems that all the people that live there are in favor of it, and quite a large section of the people that live there already have the exact same setback. So the criteria that I see that it takes us to make a determination, the county maybe should have just approved it to begin with. What?
Mr. Chair, members of the board, so the permits that were issued in the past that had received a 5-foot setback were issued in error. It's not something that we would issue normally, and so it's not something that we're going to go back and say, okay, your building was issued in error, you got to move your building now. That's our fault. We made that mistake. But going forward, we can't keep making the same mistake. As well as when we're granting a variance, our ordinance states in the Board of Adjustment section that we don't grant variances based on previous nonconformities or errors that we've done in the past. I would also like to note that the setback is 15. It's always been actually it was actually greater prior to 2015. We did an ordinance update in 2015. It was actually, I think, 20 feet. It was 20 feet in the rear and 20 feet in the front. 2015, we did an ordinance update, and it reduced the setbacks to 15 in the front, 15 in the rear. We've always had in there as well a projections into rear yard section 37C, and that's listed in the report, staff report that was given to you. Projections into rear yards, you can have an accessory building that projects into the rear yard no closer than 10 feet to the rear property line. So in reality, the setback is 15 feet for buildable structures, but because this is an accessory structure, it can go up to 10 feet from the setback. So they could build up to 10 feet from the rear setback. And hopefully that answered your question.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I'd also like to point out that, the question was asked, why didn't we, just because there were other hangars that were 5 feet from the rear property line, why didn't staff also approve this one? There are actually penalties embedded in the zoning ordinance for staff if we knowingly issue a permit that's contrary to the standards in the zoning ordinance. So if you would look at it that like a prohibition, that we cannot knowingly do that.
I see we have a couple of questions or comments. We can, just a short amount of time, and I'll allow for you guys to come up and have your question or your comments.
Alan Ock, and I remember when we were building back in 2008, I had a discussion with the contractor, and he said, well, you'd need a certain setback. I believe it was a 15-foot setback for a residence or a habitable structure, but if it was an accessory building, you could go with the 5-foot setback. That was explained by the contractor, so I'm not sure if the rules changed or if some different rules were adopted after 2008, but that's what I was told then. So for all of us in the air park, we believe this is a new rule because it was never applied before.
Stan Gatewood again. It sounds like we have, on paper, we have a rule that says you have to do it this way, either 20 feet or 15 feet or whatever. But I haven't heard a reason. What are we gaining? Is it for public health reasons? Or is it for property value reasons? Or what, is there a reason for it other than somebody in a room just decided that, well, 15 feet sounds good? I say since our community is based on being able to do it at 5 feet, it really imposes a restriction on us now for developing the rest of our community. And everybody in the community is in favor of it, and it's not hurting anybody outside the community.
At this time, I'm going to close the, I have one more. Yes, ma'am.
I was not here for the one that they did on the east side of Antelope, so I have a question right now. I understood, I asked for paperwork, I never got it. They said it wasn't ready. We do have a lot on Antelope that the back end is east. And I understood the person that went in for the recommendation to put the drainage thing 15 feet back to 5 feet. Is it true that they have 5 feet on east side of Antelope? I don't know, I'm just asking. The rear of Antelope was 5 feet, is my understanding. Could I get an answer?
I don't have the answer to that, I'm sorry.
Pardon?
I don't have the answer to that.
Okay, but I mean, if it's 5 feet in the back of Antelope,
Right.
that's the backyard.
Sure,
So-
and that may be something that you could follow up with the planning and zoning.
No, I'm only referring to it, the difference requirements within the subdivision, like
Sure.
Alan Ock had brought out, that if we are on one street, why was the other street corrected if that was it? But irregardless, it should all be according to what they were allowed to begin with. Were you asking me something? No. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, we're going to close the call to public.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
does staff, do you have an answer to that, the lady's question? Or could you get with her to help her to find the correct answer?
Yeah, I don't have the zoning map in front of me right now, but when I was going over it before, I believe all the properties in the subdivision all have the same zoning, and that's how setbacks are determined. So all the streets within the subdivision all have the same setback requirements.
Do we know what that is? 'Cause that was her question.
So it's 15 feet from the front property line and rear property line and 5 feet on the sides.
I got some information I can share on that. I'm familiar with it.
Mr. Chairman, can we let the gentleman come back up and get some more
Yeah, I'm
information?
sorry, I was just trying to verify something on the plot plan here.
On the eastern border of our development, which is what Marilyn was talking about, there is a public utility easement of 16 feet. That's separate from the other lots that we're talking about.
Okay.
So all of the houses and hangars that have been built along there have complied with the 16 feet because it's a public utility easement. And it was also called a drainage easement. And I think more recently, there's been some activity to show that there is absolutely no drainage that goes through there. So I think maybe the classification of a drainage easement went away, but I understand it's still a 16-foot easement. So those lots are unique. They're a different situation than what we're talking about here.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Mr. Chair, just to
Yes.
clarify, I was able to pull up the zoning for the Antelope Drive as well. It's all the RO zoning, which requires the 15-foot setback.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now I think we'll close the call to public.
Mr. Chairman, I would think, considering the precedent has been set with the the existing lots all having their buildings set at the 5-foot setback, I would certainly think that for us to force him to do 15 would certainly be doing an injustice to him. So, I would make a motion, if you would, that we would approve his request to do the 5-foot setback as requested.
Joe, do you have any comments on that?
Well, I think I feel the same with Mr. Bell. And I don't know if there's something the county can do, because if they have several unbuilt lots and they want to do it, and someday there's going to be a build out, I guess it'll be coming back every single time if they want to continue to do it. And I don't know that if Air Park can be zoned a little differently, but I think in this case, the precedent's been set. There's 18 lots that already are not conforming. And it seems that the people that live there are all in agreement that this is the way it should be done. And I wouldn't want to be the guy to stand in the way of that.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, what that would require is that and I believe all of the lots might be individually owned. I'm not sure. There might be a few parcels that are owned by the same property owner, but each individual property owner that would like to change their setbacks would have to go through a rezoning process. So it would go before the Planning and Zoning Commission and the Board of Supervisors to be able to do a special development district, which would allow them to set certain setbacks just for their zone. You can do that. You would have to get the buy-in or approval from each of the property owners that would like to participate in the rezone, and then it would go, like I said, it would go before the Planning and Zoning Commission and the Board of Supervisors. We couldn't come in ourselves as Mojave County and come and just change their zoning as is. They would have to come forward with a proposal to rezone all of the vacant lots, but we would have to have approval from each of the property owners.
Mr. Chairman, that just may put the HOA on notice. If you want to make a change, you guys need to get active about it. That's how the county will do. You heard what you have to do.
So we'll take action and figure out what we need to do to make.
There you go.
Yeah.
There is a motion on the floor by Commissioner Bell, so to approve the 5-foot request. I just want to remind you.
I'll second that motion.
And take a vote on it then?
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion passes.
Thank you. At this time, we'd like to adjourn the meeting. Perfect.